Madam Secretary, the problem that we're facing, as I understand it from reading what's in the literature, is that our principal adversaries, Russia and China, have already jumped into space, are already in the process of militarizing space. This is not a future challenge. This is a challenge right now, today. And I'd ask you to tell us as much as you can. These are tricky, sensitive areas, but as much as you can about what's already happened, that the American people should understand what's already vulnerable.
Well, as I mentioned, the Chinese demonstrated the ability to launch a rocket. So think of launch a telephone pole and hit an object in low Earth orbit and destroy it. That was a pretty significant demonstration. And so there are other things that we believe they're developing the ability to do. For example, publicly reported TASS, the Russian news agency, last summer said that the Russians were launching the ability to repair their satellites on orbit. Well, if they can repair their own, they can also interfere.
They can repair ours.
Yeah.
So
I think that's probably what's publicly discussed, where I'd feel comfortable going, David. But we believe that they are developing those capabilities, and that we need to be prepared to defend ourselves.
Is it possible that there are already weapons up there in space that are not on the ground trying to get ready to shoot something down, but up there in space already that could pose a threat?
I believe that's possible.
So that's an important baseline for us to think about, that it's already possible that our near-peer adversaries have these weapons in space. This is a situation where we're trying to now respond to that. So let me ask you to talk a little bit more about your thoughts about how best to respond. The satellites that we put up, because we didn't think about this as a warfighting domain, are soft. What about just hardening satellites so they'd be better able to resist the detonation of weapons, nuclear or otherwise, in space?
Let's think about the problem. First of all, you need to understand the threat. What are the capabilities they're developing? And for example, it's different on our different satellite systems. So I mentioned GPS. GPS is actually a really weak radio signal from 4 different satellites at the same time, does a heck of a lot of math, and tells you how far you are from each of those satellites by the timing signal coming off those satellites. We use the timing signal, by the way, also for the ATM machine. So you can't take money out of 2 ATM machines at exactly the same time, so you don't get double the credit from your bank. We do that from GPS. So the biggest risk to GPS is jamming, because it's a really weak signal. So you think about, for those of you who have teenagers who play their music really loud, you can't hear the whisper next to a loud noise. So jamming is the biggest risk there. So how are we going to deal with that? The Air Force is accelerating the deployment of jam-resistant GPS. So on some of our other satellites, the threats may be different. So how do we deal with that? The first thing we need is near real-time situational awareness. Now, right now we keep the catalog. The Air Force keeps the catalog for all objects in space greater than about the size of a softball. And it's not good enough now to just check them every week. We need to know, are they moving? And if so, where are they going? So it's a little bit, instead of a catalog, or let's take a flight analogy, instead of knowing the flight schedule coming into Reagan Airport today, you need the radar scanning to know exactly where that airplane is right now and where you think it's going. So near real-time situational awareness is the first thing. The second is the ability to command and control the things we have in space. Make them move, make them do things so that they can protect themselves. So command and control is the second. And the third is the ability to create effects. In other words, get out of the way, take some action. And I won't go into detail there, but you can have the same analogy in airspace. If somebody sends a a missile up at one of our aircraft, well, we might use chaff and flares. We might maneuver out of the way. There's a lot of different ways to think about defending yourself. So space situational awareness, near real time, the ability to command and control, and the ability to create effects. And those things oriented towards the threat are the way that we're trying to make space a defendable domain.